How to regain your sovereignty and live your life with dignity. Not too long ago, we celebrated the life of MLK, an icon in the fight against injustice, oppression, and abuse of man by other men. He was once quoted as saying, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. End of quote. Yet, today as we speak, there are hundreds of thousands who are rotting in prison because of their political views. They are in jail for daring to speak truth to power. They are deprived of their civil liberties for being courageous enough to ask for better. These are the Navalny, Tatiana Komik, Rayhan Assad, Victoria Cardenas, Peter B.R. Ajak, Aung San Suu Kyi of this world. Millions more are languishing in poverty in many places around the world. Although we do not see or hear them in the news every day, their suffering, though, is as real as light and air. So what is going on? When I read Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it states, 1. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his or her country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. 2. Everyone has the right of equal access to public service in his country. 3. And this is very important. The will of the people, I'll repeat that, the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections. Genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. But how many countries around the world follow this rule? Well, data shows that about 40% of the world's countries and territories operate within that framework. And according to a Freedom House report on global freedom scores, only 85 out of 210 countries and territories around the world are labeled as free. The other 125 are either half free or not free. But I do not know what it means to be half free, because to me, you're either free or you're not. So we are talking about billions of people who are deprived of their civil liberties. They have no access to education. They have no opportunities, jobs. They have no access to health care. They are poor. But more importantly, they cannot talk about their miserable condition. And every time they try, they are met with an iron fist that either breaks or crushes them. These people are held hostage in their own countries by their own governments. Why? Aren't governments supposed to be for the people, helping them solve their problems? So why is the majority of the world's population living in hostage-like conditions? The answer is simple, and this is what I'm going to be talking about in the next few minutes. The people's power, or the people's sovereignty, has been hijacked by power-hungry politicians who claim to be for the people, but in reality only care about themselves and those who support them. How is that possible? In a normally functioning society, power rests with the people. They decide what they want and what they do not want in their society. In such a society, if the people condemn you to death, you are dead. unless evidence proves your innocence. And if they say you are innocent, you will be cleared of any wrongdoing. What I want to say here is that the people's power is supreme. Put differently, the people hold their destiny into their own hands. So why is it that we have billions of people around the world languishing in misery imposed on them by their own governments? Why are they living like hostages? Remember that I said normally functioning society. Many of our societies are not functioning normally. The structure of the society has been perverted in such a way that the servants, government officials, have become the masters, and the masters, the citizens, have become servants. And how is that possible? There are several reasons that explain why things are the way they are. And here I'm going to give a few of those reasons. The first reason is division. People lose their sovereignty when they stop seeing eye to eye with their neighbors or compatriots on different issues in their society. One person or a group of persons want things done a certain way, another wants things done a different way, and they cannot seem to reconcile their differences. Each side stands firm on its position to where compromise is not easy to achieve. One thing to remember, though, is that it is the collectiveness of the people that makes a society. Look, for example, when a soccer team or a basketball or any team for that matter coordinates its efforts around the collective group, they play well. However, when team members begin to act as if they are bigger than the team as a whole will struggle. This is also true in society. As soon as members of a given society begin to focus all their efforts on self, everybody else loses in the process. For example, when the rich focus more on amassing wealth for themselves rather than using it to help lift their compatriots out of poverty, this will lead to massive inequalities, which in turn breeds resentment and popular outbursts in extreme cases. Division will also happen when the group fragments. You have a small cell here and another there, and each cell organizes itself around interests that do not mesh with those of the rest of the group. That will weaken the whole. The power of the people rests on consensus and collectiveness. In other words, when the people work together as one, they become unstoppable. However, as soon as they start dispersing their efforts, focusing on their differences rather than building on them, there and then their power, their sovereignty becomes divided. And remember, in electronics, power is represented by 1 and the lack of it by 0. This means that when it comes to power, you either have it or you do not. There's no in-between state. The next reason is resignation. Sometimes when suffering has gone on for so long and attempts to alleviate the suffering have resulted in failure over and over, the people will reach a point where they lose their drive. They start accepting the dysfunction as a normal situation. In other words, they stop trying. They do not get involved in the affairs of their society, a situation that creates a power vacuum which gives the power-hungry politicians a space where to operate. The other reason is ignorance. Many times, people suffer in life because they do not know their rights, or do not know, or are afraid to ask for them. This ignorance can come in different ways. There is an ignorance that develops as a result of the culture that one grows up in. Let me share with you the story of John Kalume, my childhood friend. When playing with friends outside of his home, Kalume was a very rambunctious kid. I enjoyed playing with him. However, as time went by, I started noticing something different. Every time I visited him at his house, he was a different kid. He was very reserved, much more so when his father was around. I did not know what was happening to him. When I asked, he told me that he did not have a positive relationship with his father. The only time he saw his father was when he was either being whipped or given a task. He never had any moment of joy with his father. They did not play, chat, or even eat together. As time went by, Kalume started to see his father as a danger to be avoided. Whenever he saw Dad come home, he went into hiding. How is this related to our topic? The father represents authority, and to Kalume, based on his environment and experience, all authority is bad. It had to be feared and avoided. This concept was not just true with fathers at home. It was also visible in other aspects of life in my society. For example, teachers' authority was supreme. They could whip you whenever they felt like, and as a student, you had no recourse. Police officers harassed people every day. They beat them up and took their possessions whenever they saw fit. The list can go on and on. The point I want to make here is that authority in my society was equated to danger. Rather than seeing authority as a source of help, we saw it as something to be avoided. In this sense, the environment or one's experience can distort one's perspective, turning something good into something bad. And how does this affect sovereignty? You cannot hold accountable what you are afraid of. Another form of ignorance comes from lack of education. The people in this situation only know what they see and what they have heard. They have never been exposed to different ideas and perspectives. Consequently, their limited experience limits their perspective on issues. Another form of ignorance is one that consists of people who have been exposed to education. But the things they learned reinforced the mistaken beliefs they had prior to their exposure to education. Look, for example, at the African education system. Since elementary school, learning is done in a foreign language, as if Africans do not have their own languages. Also, religions being taught are foreign religions because native ones have been characterized or labeled as evil. Although not explicitly stated, the idea I get from this is that foreign is better. Without self-acceptance and self-understanding, the educated are doomed to fail because their foundation is flawed. This too is a form of ignorance, the ignorance of one's identity. And this is the most dangerous category because the people in it believe that they know something when their knowledge is packaged in a box that they have difficulty breaking. An ignorant citizen is highly impressionable, easily controllable, and easy to scare because the foundation upon which they base their judgment is limited. So, what can be done to address the situation? The solution I propose will be two-pronged. One, if there is hope of regaining people power, it will have to start with we the people uniting, working together to solve our problems. We cannot continue to live as victims because our destiny is in our hands. We cannot blame anyone either because we are sovereign. We must stop focusing our attention on futile issues such as race, tribe, sexual orientation, political affiliation, religion, etc., because they are distractions. If fate has brought us together, why are we tearing each other apart? Let us figure out how to make our being together work for all of us. At the end of the day, we all want the same things: peace, liberty, equal access to opportunity and resources, decent life, and ability to do and be what we like when and where we want. When we disagree, and we will over and over, only disagree on issues and not on identity. Those who are benefiting from our divisions will show us more of our differences rather than pointing to what we can agree on. We need to expose and push away incompetence at the highest level of our society. It is true, in life you get what you tolerate. If you tolerate dysfunction, guess what? You will get more dysfunction. And if you tolerate incompetence at the highest level of your society, that is also what you will get. Therefore, we, the people, must set clear expectations as to what we want from our government officials. Anyone offering less than what is expected of him or her should be recalled as soon as their incompetence becomes evident. There is no reason why to continue to have someone in power for decades without any tangible results. People's lives are at stake. We must educate ourselves. The more informed we are as a people, the better the decision that we will make and the more prosperous our society will become. We are fortunate to be alive in an era with technological progress, where people can learn from anywhere. They just need to have a computing device and access to the internet. So let us use these tools at our disposal to help free our brothers and sisters around the world who are currently held hostage by their own government in their own countries. Let us be creative in finding ways of combating ignorance in our midst, so that we are never taken advantage of by the egos of some of our self-centered brothers and sisters. We need to live as free people, and that is what we need to ask for. The second solution that I propose is that we also need the international community to get involved. COVID-19 and Ebola have shown us that no one is isolated from the problems of the rest of the world. What affects one will affect everyone in one way or another. Therefore, those of us living in free societies, we need to 1. Talk to our governments and tell them to stop sending our tax dollars to those oppressive regimes around the world. Our government think that they are helping, but they are simply enabling dysfunction and prolonging the misery of our brothers and sisters around the world. We also need to join hands with million others like-minded people around the world to remind our strong men and women in power that they are not stronger than the world. They need to let go and allow people to live their lives as they wish. We need to condemn oppression in any of its forms anywhere around the world. Let it be economic oppression, let it be political oppression, let it be social oppression, whatever that may be. We need to oppose oppression in any form around the world. So let us shout together and tell the world's tyrants that enough is enough. We, the marginalized people, are tired of living like second-class citizens in our own countries. We want our freedom. We want our dignity. We want opportunities and a good environment where to develop our skills and abilities. We say no to being governed like animals. We therefore want to make 2022 to 2032 a decade for the people. Again, 2022 to 2032, a decade for the people. We can do it. Thank you.